Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Continuing with the Depths Ember action, we are playing a pretty spicy deck that I saw from the Eternal Weekend Prague. This is a Hogaak-depths deck. So Dark Depths, you can make a 2020 using this Thespian stage. We can also make a 2020 using this Vampire Hexmage. We've got some tutors for it in the form of Elvish Reclaimer and crop rotation. Satyr Wayfinder is interesting. It digs us down in 4 cards and finds us a land, so that's pretty good. But it also stocks up our graveyard. And when we're stocking up our graveyard, that's going to make Hogaak come out to play. We also have Stitcher's Supplier, which can top up our graveyard and hopefully get some Hogaak going. We got some Cabal Therapy, so we can do some pretty cool stuff with that as well. And there is this card, which I'm not particularly fond of, but we're playing it because it was in the deck list. It's Invasion of Ikoria. X, green, green. Search your library for a non-human creature card with mana value X or less, put onto the battlefield. And then also, it's an 8/8 reach creature that means that your humans effectively don't get blocked. But they assign damage if they're not been blocked. So the idea with this is you can get some bits if you need them, like the Wayfinder or the Reclaimer. Or the main thing we're getting here is the Hexmage, because you pay this for 4 mana, get a Hexmage, remove all the counters off the battle, it flips into an 8/8. So we are playing 8/8s and 20/20s in this deck. I think this deck finished 6-3-1 at Eternal Weekend, so put up a reasonable record. We've got a few little spicy ones we can find in the mana base. We've got a Wasteland here, we've got a Dryad Arbor, we've got a Bojuka Bog, a Khalni Garden, another Khalni Garden, a Boseiju, which is just there as a green thing. We can't really tutor it up in a way that we get to use it. Nurturing Peatland, draw some cards, and the Sejiri Steppe to protect our creatures. And we have the Mox Diamond to make this all go a little bit faster. So we are not the most interactive of decks. We are just trying to beat our opponent down in various ways. But I'm curious to see how it plays out. I think this deck could probably do with a Life from a Loam, since we've got 4 Stitcher's Supplier and 4 Satyr Wayfinder. And I think probably having a Loam would be good. But we're going to play the list as is and see how it feels. Sideboard wise, what do we have to work with? Well, we got some Abrupt Decays. We are a fetch land mana base here. So we got 4 fetches, so we can find ourselves a swamp or a forest. And the Mox Diamond also helps against Blood Moon. So we've only got 2 decays in here. That's fair enough. 1 Assassin's Trophy is a little catch-all answer. A couple of Force of Vigors to blow some bits and pieces up like Blood Moon or Ensnaring Bridges, that type of stuff. Graveyard Hate, we got 3 Surgicals and an Endurance. We've got 1 Collector Ouphe we can shoot a 4 with our Invasion of Ikoria to go and stop our opponent from being able to do our artifact shenanigans. Sylvan Safekeeper to protect our guys, so we can also tutor off of the invasion. A couple of Thoughtseize for a bit more interaction. And a Caracas in case we need to bounce opposing Marit Lages or something spooky like that. So, again, even post-board, we haven't got the most interaction going on. But hopefully we're just going to be putting 8/8s into play as early as turn 2. And, well, I guess we can do it on turn 1 with Mox Diamond, actually. So, that's usually going to give our opponents some pause of thought. And we can sort of mess with them a little bit with Reclaimer and sort of get there. My initial thoughts on this deck is that we're kind of doing both plans worse. So we're doing kind of like a worse Hogaak and a worse Dark Depths type strategy here. But sometimes when you combine 2 things, just the flexibility of going between them ends up being really, really useful. Is this going to be one of those times? I'm not sure. I'm excited to play it. You know me. If something's got Dark Depths in it, I'll give it a go. And the player who played this obviously ended up with a positive record at a very tough field at a big tournament. So it's got some legs on it. You can certainly see how it's going to win games, and we're going to see if we can replicate any of that success. Alright, remember to like and subscribe. Make sure you don't miss any of this Depths Ember action. And let's jam some Hogaak-depths. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? Alright, we're on the play. We have a turn 2, can we do, we need another land for turn 2 Hogaak, right? But we can give it a go, so we're going to keep this. So I think the play here is Stitcher's Supplier off of a Bayou. We could do off of a Swamp, but I think we want to have the black for the Hexmage. Alright, let's get milling. We're going to pop our graveyard out here for this league, because it's going to be quite an important zone for us today. So if we find a Cabal Therapy, we can put more cards in the yard, we can't get another creature. Basically, we just need another land would be good, because then we can play the Wayfinder. I guess we find a Therapy, we can play Reclaimer, Khalni Garden, and then play Hogaak. And we'll be milling cards off of the Supplier. That's just not true. Are they just going to Wasteland? That would be certainly an irritating one. Make us definitely need some land a bit more. Right, we're probably looking at a Delver thing. Sorry, we need to find that Cabal Therapy in the flip of our Stitcher Supplier rather than just drawing it. I was too busy. Actually, we have enough now to put in... Because they Wasteland us, we can just play a Hogaak next turn. Oh, sorry, I was just finishing my thought on the Cabal Therapy a bit after the fact there. Alright, so I imagine we're playing against Delver here. So counter spells are a thing that we have to worry about. Let's play this. It's clobbering time. They can't daze this, it has to be a Force of Will. Alright, you can Force of Will our creature we can replay from the graveyard. Oh, I can live with that. Next turn we can play the Satyr Wayfinder, dump 4 cards in the graveyard, and play a Hogaak. An Underground Sea. Sure. Another Khalni Garden. We don't really need that one just yet. Let's play a Satyr Wayfinder. Our opponent might struggle to kill a Hogaak if it gets into play. So this will mill 4 and we have 3 creatures in play, so that'll be enough to put Hogaak on the stack. This time they can daze though. Would I rather have a Thespian stage in play in our hand or try and put Hogaak on the stack? I don't think we want to put Hogaak on the stack into a daze. So we just take this land. We just go to tax. Get our 1 damage in. So next turn we can play a Reclaimer. And then have the mana available to pay for a daze as well. And play Khalni Garden. We can just keep playing guys here. And the Elvish Reclaimer will be threatening a Marit Lage kill relatively soon. Alright, our opponent's still not really up to much over there. Probably Orcust Bowmasters, but maybe play that earlier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we play the Khalni Garden here. We play the Reclaimer. Play the Hogaak. Cast. Black, green, green, and we will get rid of these 2. We can play around a daze. We'll have the biggest boy in town. 8/8 is quite a useful breakpoint because that also means it trades with the biggest Murktide you can do. Alright. We don't actually have access to black mana, so we're going to have to kind of do a slow way of getting there with our Reclaimer. I guess we could play Thespian stage and copy our opponent's source, but that's quite slow. We might as well just spend the mana getting an Urborg instead of a Khalni Garden. It's going to be the Bowmasters. We're probably losing Wayfinder. I don't think they want to target the Stitches. Yeah, okay, so just hitting that, sure. So our opponent's managed to get on board now. We've expended quite a lot of their resources. If we draw an Urborg, we are having a great time. Or if we draw... Alright. I get rid of that guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We haven't got quite enough to make the Hogaak, which is a pity. But black source, and we're doing stuff. Well, if it's Urborg, because then we get to play the Hexmage, and then that would be just enough to play a Hogaak. An Elvish Reclaimer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, let's cast a Reclaimer. Let's cast a Hogaak. Biggest boy in town. Right, we can play this Thespian stage as well. And we will copy our opponent's Underground Sea, just because it's going to be better than having a colourless land. But we are... Okay, we are so far ahead that we've won that game. Excellent. So our opponent's almost certainly going to bring in some form of graveyard hate, and that's fine. Endurance is just generally good against Delver, so I don't mind having that. I don't mind having some removal for their guys. What are we supposed to do without here? Sejiri Steppe is going to be useful. Our own Bojuka Bog is fine as a thing we can draw. A Wasteland. We can Wasteland our opponent's Wasteland, which is pretty reasonable. Crop rotation is not where I want to be. We don't have enough hand disruption for me to play crop rotation in this matchup. I don't think we want the Sylvan Safekeeper here. Like if they're bouncing our Hogaak, that's not too much of an issue. Sure, we'll run it like this. Yeah, this deck feels pretty powerful when you're on the front foot because you can kind of just keep making threats. This hand is not playable though. It doesn't really do anything. What about this one? This one does a bit more. Keep this one. What are we throwing back here? So we want our lands here. I don't think we want the Cabal Therapy right now. Our plan is most likely going to be Mox Diamond pitching Hogaak-depths. We'll have to make do with an 8/8 rather than a 20/20. But if we draw another land, maybe that changes. We'll see. Thespian stage. Okay. That has changed things around a little bit, hasn't it? So 1, 2, and this taps. So I think we're just playing out this Verdant Catacombs. I could play out the Mox Diamond right now. That plays into some removal spells for it, whether that's like a Meltdown or whatever. But it does mean that we have an Abrupt Decay up if our opponent plays a threat that we want to deal with, like a DRC or something. So I think I'm going to play this, and I'm going to pitch the Nurturing Peatland. Alright, let's see what we do here. A Ponder, that's pretty slow and not a problem. So unlikely to be firing off this. Oh, no second land. That means our opponent's hand is all gas. That's going to be a lot to get through. The uncounterable depths is probably going to be pretty good here. Interesting. We can't play this around days unless we play out the Thespian stage, which is what we're going to play anyway. Right, so this now needs to get a black source for us. I think we're just going to get a Bayou. We're kind of already in it with the non-basics here. Right, so here's the Hexmage. So they don't know if we're running Spirit Guides and stuff like that. So I think, okay, we're just in with this. This will give us 2 ways to make a 2020 next turn. Very surprised this didn't get any action. This is going to be Bowmasters. A Thoughtseize. Okay, you can take our Invasion or our Abrupt Decay. Which one suits you best, opponent? If they don't have any answer to this, they might just scoop. Alright, they took the Invasion. Sure. Still no other land, though. A Dark Depths, you said. Let's play Dark Depths. Attack our opponent. We're not going to do... We're going to use the Vampire Hexmage to do this in their upkeep. So that we can play around Wasteland. Alright, do you have a land and an Edict? And can you... Nope, they don't. Alright, yeah, pretty quick 1-0. This deck does seem to apply a reasonable amount of pressure, I think. Our opponent did get stuck on 1 land for that second game, so we did get a little bit fortunate there. But I'm surprised that their hand didn't have any interaction. Like, they must have kept it for some interaction, surely. But maybe they just didn't have a second land, but had like edicts and stuff, and were hoping that the Ponder would get them there. But the first game, we just kept putting the pressure on, and we got there. So, pretty nice. Let's go to round 2. This deck... Sorry, not this deck. This hand kind of has a plan. We can make an 8-8 after, like, Cabal Therapying our opponent. I think that's okay. I'm not in love with this, but I think it is on the playable level. We might need to crop rotate to get the green source, but our deck does have a lot of green sources. Alright, we're playing Legacy. In the blind, with a Cabal Therapy. The name is always Brainstorm, I think. And then they reveal a handful of Ponders, but sure. Okay. How bad is this going to be for us? I don't think it's going to be amazing for us. So they got a Force of Will over there. We can hit that later if we need to. But this turn they're going to play the Chalice on 1. That's going to shut off the Cabal Therapy in our graveyard, the Cabal Therapy in our hand, and the Crop Rotation in our hand. So that's going to stop our Invasion of Ikoria plan. So not incredible. If we play a Hexmage, they might be forced into counterspelling it, because we can remove the counters from their Chalice and just stop their deck from functioning. So this is a must counter a Hexmage, unless they miss that interaction, and then we can maybe get it down. I think they might be considering whether or not they want to play the Shadow Spear first. I don't think that's right. I think you just slam the Chalice here. But I guess just seeing a Cabal Therapy kind of makes you wonder what your opponent's doing. There's an Ancient Tomb. Comes to Chalice for 1. Yep, I agree with our opponent's decision there. Playing a Mox Opal as well. Alright, let's take this blue card and this Force of Will out of our opponent's hand, shall we? This is a must counter for them. I'm still going to have to get around this as a Saga that's coming up soon. But this will shut off all of their 0-drops. Yep, they've come to the correct conclusion there. But the Urza Saga game plan here is very good. But we do know they can't gain life, so maybe we are still on for doing like a big BAP with a 2020 at some point. Yep, there's the Saga. Alright, we have a game plan. Next turn we play Invasion of Ikoria and make our... We can either strip all the counters from their Chalice and try and stop them that way, or we can make an 8-8 and try and race with it. I guess part of it depends on if we think they've got an Aether Spellbomb in their deck, because we don't beat the Aether Spellbomb if we go for the... Is that true? We can just replay the Invasion, right? That's probably fine. Can live with that. An Urborg. Is Urborg useful? No. It means they can tap their Ancient Tomb without taking damage, so we don't want to play that one. Let's crack this. We're just going to get Bayous here, I think. Let's go and get our Hexmage. I'm not a big fan of the battle cards for Legacy. I don't think they're really Legacy power level. But, you know, the thing we're doing here is fine. I don't think in the backup of a deck that's trying to win with 2 different legendary creatures, you don't want a 3rd legendary creature necessarily. But we'll see. Our opponent's thinking about this one for a while. Or they've had to step away from the computer. If they have blue card Force of Will, I think this is a good shout. Maybe they're pondering to see if we have a Collector Ouphe in our main deck. Maybe they're worried about that. Alright, we're going to get Metallic Rebuked here. We are. Alright, I think our opponent has this game now. I don't think we're going to be able to race this Saga. And especially when we have 2 blanks in our hand. Right, we can't cast a Hogaak at any time, really, because we don't have the creatures in play. We'll take one more draw step and then scoop it up. I don't think we're able to beat this, though. The Chalice tells us that they're not playing the Painter build as a general rule. So probably on the most common build now, which is the Patches Stompy build. So I do have an Aether Spellbomb as expected. Right, they're floating some mana off of a Mox to play another Mox. We're going to see a Thoughtcast here. No, we're going to see a Kappa. Yeah, we're not beating any of this. Scoop that one up. Alright. I have a Collector Ouphe. I would very much like that. I would have these 2 Force of Vigors, which are pretty reasonable. I like Assassin's Trophy. Endurance has some play, but I'm not sure that's where we want to be. I don't really think we want these crop rotations into the blue deck. Now, the question is, do we want some Abrupt Decays for Chalice? We already have the Hexmage, which can answer the Chalice, but I think the Abrupt Decays are okay. And the question is, what would we play for the Abrupt Decays? Maybe we're going to strip out the Moxes, because they're bad if we're trying to Collector Ouphe. I don't mind having one to accelerate into the Collector Ouphe. Or would we rather have a Thoughtseize? Thoughtseiz's not great against some of their stuff, though. So just Chalice. Alright, we're going to go for something like this. I think all of our special lands have some merit here. Sejiri Steppe's probably the one with the least merit, because we can't always... Actually, if we're boarding out the crop rotation, I guess we can still get through, like, a Thopter. Maybe use it to push a little bit of damage, or force some awkward blocks. Maybe I've convinced myself not to play the Sejiri Steppe in this match. Alright. Let's just have an Endurance, I think. This is an interesting one, isn't it? Sure, I'll keep this one. So we have turn 1, Stitcher's Supplier. Turn 2, possibly Hexmage, if we draw it. Alternatively, you know, we can just play like a Thespian stage and have the Dark Depths ready to go on the turn after. Behold my powerful Stitcher Supplier. We don't really need to care about the other aspects of our like Chalice or anything, because we're kind of not on that side of the deck here. Abrupt Decay. So far, Stitcher Supplier dies. That'll be sad, but because we kind of want it to tap for the Hogaak at some point. Right, there's a Petal from our opponent. A Mox, so now they have 3 mana this turn if they want it. Just 2 mana. Chalice for 1. Patches, sure. You got any more follow-up? They do. A bauble, sure. I'm quite happy to chomp block with the Stitcher Supplier. Am I? I guess we need to find some other creatures for that to be good. The thing we're trying to dodge here is... Yikes, our opponent's turn 1 is pretty darn good. We're trying to dodge Urza's Saga, because that gives them access to the thing that gets rid of our 2020. And I do not want to deal with that. Oh, okay. Well, this is a fantastic draw. Put out Stitches. Hey, bro, I heard you like 8/8s. 1. We'll take the Dark Depths so they can't exile it. Alright. How do you feel about an 8/8? A bit bigger than your Patches. They got 3 cards, so it's possible they got Forcible Blue card there, but they can't do Metallic Rebuke here. Next turn, we can also make a 2020. So we are just piling on the pressure here. There's Urza's Saga. We should clock them before this goes off. I'm going to see Patches back on blocks. Or not even back on blocks. It's just going to be back on not doing anything. Alright, so they've got a draw engine with baubles, but they had that anyway with the Mishra's Bauble. We've got the Lotus Petal, which they already had. So yeah, this Emery hasn't added any new value yet. Obviously, it allows them to replay the same things and find the other value, but it's not like they've just got themselves a Spellbomb by playing the Emery, so they can... Alright. Force of Vigor. Oh lord, that's real tasty here. Let's go to attacks with our Hogaak. You'd like to take 8 of your finest damages. We could Force of Vigor in their upkeep, but if they have the ability to play and crack a spell bomb, I'd like to have this Force of Vigor ready to go. So we can let them make a construct because the constructs don't matter that much. Yes, they would have had the mana to play Bauble and crack it, whatever we did with the Force of Vigor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, they're just going to scale up their patches here. That's fine. 2 cards in hand. Can you beat a 2020? They could have Otawara. So we probably want to blow stuff up in the second main phase to take them off of Otawara mana. How can we take them off of Otawara mana though? Because Otawara only costs 3 because of Emery. So if we take out this and this, they still have 3 mana here. Alright. So we take out this Saga. We take out the Seat. I think it's probably the Seat here, isn't it? So this stops them shooting for anything next turn. If they want to make a construct, they do that now, and they go shields down on the Otawara. Make it 2020. Attack you for 28. Alright, we got there on that one. Especially on the play, I don't want things like Thoughtseize and stuff, because they're going to be so bad against Chalice. So I think we're just going to go back in as we were. And like Thoughtseizing an 8-cast hand on the play can sometimes take away like the thing that they're keeping their hand because like an Emery or whatever. But if they're keeping their hand on a Saga, you can't disrupt that. And if they've just got like some draw spells and stuff, they can just snowball out of control again. So I'm not a big fan of Thoughtseize into these decks, especially when like Otawara is one of the things you want to hit if you're on the Dark Depths line. We have a Collector Ouphe in our hand, so I am going to keep this. Like the rest of our hand isn't great, but we can shut off an Emery. Patches, sure. This is something that can beat our Collector Ouphe. How many things are you going to play? Okay, not any more than that. We're going to name Force of Will so we can resolve our Collector Ouphe, I think. Cap, Cannoneer, and Thoughtcast. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're just going to play a Kappa next turn. I don't think we beat that. Is that true? I guess there's some situations we might be able to beat that. Right, and they drew another Bauble. Okay, so now they get to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They get to attack us and make Kappa this turn. Yeah, I think we're just going to get smoked pretty hard here. Right, turn 2, Collector Ouphe is too little too late. So we're going to take 5 this turn. And then next turn, we take, what, minimum 10? Then we have 1 turn after that. So we take a draw step. I'm pretty sure we're dead here. Yikes. Turn 1, Patchwork. Turn 2, Kappa Cannoneer. That makes our Stompy look a little bit weak, doesn't it? Okay. Well, we shut off most of our opponent's permanents, but they're going to win with the things they have in play already. And we're never paying the ward cost for the... I guess that's not true. If we draw Force of Vigor, we can maybe stop that next turn. So our plan is to put a Hogaak into play this turn and hope that it can do enough. Which is a big ask. Any artifact will kill us at that point. Stitcher's Supplier. This is actively good for us, right? So we go Stitcher's Supplier. This is the thing we can block with after we play the Wayfinder. Okay, that's for Bayou. Do our opponent draw a Force of Will? I don't think we have the luxury of playing around that. So we're going to use these two. I'm going to use the Satyr and the Collector Ouphe to play the Hogaak here. Thespian stage, Wasteland. We've already played our land for the turn. If we take a Wasteland, we can cut our opponent off of spells for the rest of the game, but that's not really how we're losing this game, is it? Khalni Garden gives us more blocks. Thespian stage gives us the possibility to combo. I think we take the stage here just for the... this is going to be slow, isn't it, really? But I think that's fine. Right, so this tats for green, this tats for green. And then we'll get rid of the non-lands here. And we want to leave enough lands so that we can make our guy, but also Cabal Therapy can be a useful thing too. So we want our Elvish Reclaimer to be a 3/4 if possible. So hopefully this turn we can dodge an artifact from our opponent's side of the board. That's how we win this game. If they play an artifact, we lose the game. So let's hover this concede button, ready to go. Alright, they didn't have it, otherwise they slam it straight away there. Interesting. Another ancient tomb. Alright, so I don't know if they're attacking here. No, they're not. Okay. This is half of our opponent's life total. I think we are attacking with it. And play out this Reclaimer. Let's Thespian stage. And we'll pass. So we've got some chump blocks if we want them. But if they attack with everything without having an artifact, then they will lose to the crackback. So we're trying to find a way to win this game through this amazing turn 2 hand. Alright, 2 mana. Is this an artifact? It is an artifact. Okay, so we just lose to the Cap Cannoneer here. Because this can't be blocked. Yeah. Well, we put ourselves in a position to win that game. Considering our opponent had a really, really strong start to this game. Turn 1 Patches, which then got buffed a little bit. Turn 2 Cap Cannoneer. Like, that's a lot to beat. And we put our opponent on having to kill us this turn. Otherwise, they're going to have to start sacrificing stuff to the Hogaak. So they don't get killed by it. Yeah, I thought we did alright there. If we'd have taken the Wasteland instead, and Wasteland and Ancient Tomb, it wouldn't have made a difference here. So, yeah, close fought game actually. Let's go to round 3. This is the turn 3 Marit Lage. Is that good enough? So, we can go turn 1, Cabal Therapy our opponent. Turn 2, Mox Diamond and land. And then any land gives us the turn 3 Dark Depths. Is this good though? Turn 3 Dark Depths, turn 4 kill. That's pretty slow. Maybe the Cabal Therapy is useful here. Gives us information, maybe takes something. Lets us know if this crop needs to be like a Bojuka Bog. I think we can do better though. I think I want to try and... Okay, this is still a turn 3, so we'll keep this. And I think we have to keep this Dryad Arbor. And I think we lead out on the Verdant Catacombs here. The reason I want the Dryad Arbor is so we can pay the cost for a Hogaak. We're going to play this Verdant Catacombs out so we can at least have options for Bojuka Bog if that's a thing we need. Cavern of Souls. What creature is it going to be? Goblin. Alright, I know what our opponent's doing. Can we race what our opponent's doing? That is a more difficult question. Okay, we can at least put a blocker in front of this. I'm down with that. Reclaimer is pretty decent here as well. I think Reclaimer is better than the Wayfinder here. Just get a Bayou. Our opponent's not going to mess with our lands in game 1. This can block the Lackey and survive. And then next turn we have Dark Depths sewn up. Because we turn our Bayou into a Thespian stage. And then we tap the Dark Depths and the Urborg. Tap our Thespian stage, targeting the Dark Depths. And away we go. And that might come as a shock to our opponent. Shatter Skull as a land. Paying 3 life. Have they got a Sim Spirit Guide here? They do. So we're going to see Namesticker Goblin into anything as bad. It could be as bad as Muxus. We'll see. How bad is it? 5. Not Muxus, unless they've got another Spirit Guide. So this could just be Battlecry Goblin. Broadside Bombardiers. Okay. And another Lackey. Can't block the Bombardiers. No attacks. Interesting. If you're unfamiliar with this card, it's pretty good. 3 mana, 2/2, Menace Haste. And as long as you've attacked this turn, you can sacrifice a creature to deal damage equal to 2 plus the sacrificed creatures. Well, not necessarily creature can be permanent, right? Alright, our opponent said misclick there. That might have been useful for us. We'll see. So we have a 20/20 to block with, as well as our 1/2. Our opponent is definitely going to throw something at our Reclaimer. There is a City of Traitors. Our opponent has 4 mana available right now. A Goblin Matron. What is this going to find? It's got to be good, because we have... They don't know that we have the crop rotation here for lethal. Skirk Prospector. Okay, that's kind of scary. I'm going to play out their Skirk Prospector. Okay. They could sack all their guys and play a Muxus. They're going to sacrifice something for this Reclaimer. Alright, so the Reclaimer dies here. We take 2, 4, 5, 6. They put a goblin into play. I think we have to let them do this and hope it's not too bad for us. Okay, nothing there. Let's do the thing. Go gadget, Thespian stage. Alright. So we got there with that plan. Now, how are we supposed to beat these goblins? Like, Karakas can bounce a Muxus, which isn't the worst thing ever. I think the removal comes in. I think we do want Thoughtseizes to snipe a Muxus away, because that's just lights out if that comes into play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, though. That's quite a lot. Cabal Therapy is just going to be naming Muxus a lot of the time. So it's kind of doing the same stuff as this. Crop Rotation is actively good in this matchup. I don't think we need Sejiri Steppe here. I don't think we need Bojuka Bog, because that's 2 cuts. How do I feel about the Mox Diamond? I think these Invasion of Ikoria are kind of slow. Check a Mox Diamond, a couple of these out. Is that right? Kind of just trying to put Hogaak into play. And a 4 mana, this is basically a 4 mana Hogaak. I think that's too slow. So we're trying to put, Hogaak or Marit Lage into play. I think this is the most effective way of doing that. So let's go back in. Winning game 1's pretty huge, means we get the chance to be on the play, and this is quite a play draw dependent. 1, 2, 3. So this puts 3 cards in. This is 4. So we don't have a turn 1 Hogaak, but we have a turn 2 Hogaak. Scout Prospector, pretty good. A Swamp. Would I rather have a Swamp here? I think our opponent is somewhat likely to be on Blood Moons. So I think we lead off on the Swamp here. Thoughts is our opponent and see what they're working with. Matron, Ringleader, Ringleader. So next turn they can play a Matron. And then the turn after they can play Ringleader into Ringleader. I think I'd rather just say no to the Matron. And this way, if we play this out, and what are we supposed to get rid of here? It's probably the Bayou? No, it's probably the Urborg, right? So now we'll play out the Stitcher Supplier. And if this finds us a Cabal Therapy, we can just like take all of their action. We did not find the Cabal Therapy. Sure. Next turn we can play Hogaak. And that will be the largest thing on the board until Muxus comes to play. They can sacrifice their Prospector if they want to put a Ringleader in play right now, or they can wait a turn. Oh, they had a Spirit Guide. Sure. That's pretty good. So, yeah, there's the Blood Moon that we mentioned, that we played around, and they have a War Chief. We are not going to block with our Supplier because we need it to play the Hogaak. So they do have a free attack here, but they don't necessarily know that. Alright, they don't want us to put stuff in our graveyard. Interesting. Alright. I will play this Bayou. I'll make green mana for Reclaimer. I'll make green mana for Reclaimer. And then we'll cast this Hogaak. So we'll use one of these. I'm trying to work out if we want the Supplier to block with. I don't think we do once we've already got the Hogaak rolling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can always use both of them and save the most amount of cards in our graveyard. That's interesting. Sure, let's try that. This way we don't have to take the land out of our graveyard, so we're closer to getting the Reclaimer being big. Alright, so we've got a large land. And we can start crunching with this next turn. It's probably going to stymie some amount of their action, because they're not really going to want to attack into this. Sea of Traitors into play now. Oh no, is this a Muxus off the top? No, just a Ringleader. Sure. So the Ancient Tomb is really helping us out as well on our opponent's side of the board. Oof. Just a Ringleader. Like, that's fine, that's more action. And every time they miss with Ringleader, it makes the next Ringleader statistically better. Don't think they're attacking into our guy unless they want to just force a tiny bit of damage there. A Satyr Wayfinder. This is pretty good, actually. Alright, here comes the Wayfinder. This might get our Elvish Reclaimers online. We haven't played a land yet, so we can find a thing. So we want to see multiple lands in the top here. Instead we found none. But we do have a way of killing their Ringleader here. Which I think we will do. We can find some lands now and pump our Reclaimers. We did. Alright, let's take out the Goblin Ringleader. We've got a Lackey there as well. And go to tax here. We're going to send in with everything. Just let's get our opponent dead here before they draw Muxus. This is 14 damage, so something's got to go under the bus here. Alright, they're just off of it. Alright, we out-aggroed an aggro deck. Now, our opponent didn't have the most blistering of starts, which certainly helps us out, because these Goblin decks can kill you turn 1. And we did manage to dodge that, so not too bad. But we're 2-1, so we're chugging along nicely. And the deck's performing better than I thought it would, if I'm being honest. So it's pretty cool. We are playing some pretty good cards alongside our engines, like Elvish Reclaimer is just a solid Magic the Gathering card. Alright, let's go to round 4 and see if we can continue winning games. Alright, we're on the play for round 4. Our hand makes a turn 1 2020. I'm down to clown. Right, Mox Diamond. We'll keep the Bayou in hand, I think. Mox Diamond. I'm not enjoying these pauses that our opponent's doing. Vampire Hexmage. Force of Will, pitching Thoughtcast. Okay, so we're on another Patchwork Stompy deck. Not where I want to be. Oh, we didn't even play a land that turn. That was a mistake. Alright. Patches, sure. So now if we draw the Thespian stage, we just set ourselves back a turn by not playing out the Dark Depths. Right, so we do play out the Dark Depths here. I think we're always going for it with a turn 1 there. But Force of Will and Swords to Plowshares do set us back either way in the blind, so... But we've got 4 crop rotations we're drawing to and 3 Thespian stages. We're only running 3 and 3, I believe, in this build. Satyr Wayfinder is also a pretty good hit and can find us some decent action. Okay, crop rotations now off. Understood. We're going to take 3 from Patches. Bam. Well, well, well. Look who it is. There is an Ezra Saga. Do you have one of your Ottawaras? I hope not. They should do it now while we've got less mana to interact with. They do have an Ottawara. Yep, that's pretty bad news, as you probably guessed. So we're in kind of a weird spot here. We could take the counters off a Chalice and really mess them up. Or we can hold out to draw another Dark Depths. I don't think we're removing counters from an Ezra Saga here. They still get to cast the spells with their patches in play. So they still get to cast them. It'll go eaten by the Chalice, but it'll pump their guy, which is the thing they're doing. So if we attack into this, they have 3 artifacts. So that's going to be bad news bears for us. Okay. We need to find another Hexmage to strip the counters off the Chalice. Or... yeah, I think that's about our main way. I guess we could find the Invasion. That does some sort of similar things. We can't strip counters off Patches without paying mana. Alright, I think this is going to end poorly for us. There's a reason why in my Turbo Depths deck I run 4 Null Rod type effects. Alright, this is half our life total. Spellbomb is probably going to beat us regardless. Another Saga, yeah. Not really sure what we have for this one. Cabal Therapy is not the one. Okay. Yep. So, not really enjoying this matchup. Feels like a tricky one. So what did we have last time? We wanted Force of Vigors. We wanted Collector Ouphe. And I think these removal spells are good. We decided crop rotation is a little bit iffy. We don't really want these Moxes. We took out the Sejiri Steppe. Was it crop rotations? I think it was crop rotations. And then we played like 1 endurance. It's like a middle of the road-ish threat that can also mess with Emery a little bit. Like, I'm not in love with this matchup for us. Like, they do the kind of the Hogaak line pretty well with the let's just make a massive guy really early. They can do that, and they've got better interaction because they got forces and stuff. And they also have a bunch of ways of drawing cards. So, a little bit awkward. I think the Cabal Therapy here is still fine. Are we supposed to trim the Cabal Therapy? Are we supposed to swap a couple out for Thought Seizers, maybe? Let's try that. Let's try a couple of Thought Seizers instead. Alright, what does our opener do? We get to Thought Seize our opponent, but then the second Thought Seize doesn't seem great. It comes at the expense of our supply. I think we can do better than this. No black mana again. Our hand doesn't do anything for quite some time. All right. Okay. This certainly does some things, doesn't it? We'll keep this. So we're keeping Urborg. We're keeping Dark Depths. We're keeping Hexmage. We're keeping Thespian stage. I think this means we are getting rid of the Wayfinder. And I think we do want to just keep a green source available for later on. So here is our plan. I hope you like 2020's opponent. They probably do. We would not like to see an Urza Saga on turn 1. Alright, that's not an Urza Saga. It's going to be a Chalice for 1. Or is it going to be... Okay, so it's not going to be Patches, because they would play Patches first. They've seen the Dark Depths in our hand. Chalice for 1, sure. Sure, draw your card. I'll play this out. I'll play out our little friend. Alright, we're in. Give it a go. Otuara is off. They would need a Lotus Petal here. Why do I talk? 2 Lotus Petals. Do I think our opponent has an Otuara? How do we play around Otuara with our hand? The answer is we don't. I think we made a mistake there. When they played the Emery, we should have maybe removed the counters on the Chalice. And that stops a bunch of stuff. Got another Chalice there. They get to replay their zeros. Sure. I think we just go for it here. The other option there is to strip the Chalice and then play the Thespian stage. Alright. This will at least cost them some resources. Or maybe they didn't have it and we just win. Alright, they did have the Otuara as well. And the Lotus Petals to pay for it. Oh no, they didn't have it. They were bluffing. Okay. We're going back in again. I feel about all of these 1-drops. 12 1-drops they can blank on turn 1. There's a lot. We can play them just to pad out a Hogaak though. We do have the Force of Vigors and stuff. Yeah, we're going to go back in like this. Maybe we'll have a couple of crop rotations in. Nope. Okay, didn't do that quick enough. What does this hand do? Turn 1 Thoughtseize. Turn 2 Satyr Wayfinder. Turn 3 Hogaak. Turn 3 Hogaak okay. I think it is okay. We also have potentially the ability to strip all the counters off their own Chalice and leave it on 0. Alright. Not a big fan of Urza Saga. Alright, Urza Saga and the Spell Bomb. So this is much worse against Hogaak than it is against the Hexmage. I haven't really seen the Hogaak plan, I didn't believe, yet from our deck. Alright, we do get to fire off our Thoughtseize, which is nice. Or at least I hope it is. Another Yavimaya, not really what we want here. Force of Will, Chalice of the Void, Mox Opal, Mox Opal. If we take the Chalice here, they will be unlikely to make any tokens from their Saga here. And are they going to Force of Will a Satyr Wayfinder? It's an option they're allowed to do. Oh yes, the Urza Saga for no value is a tasty one. Alright, we're going to play the Satyr Wayfinder because we can be more mana efficient next turn, potentially. Surely this isn't getting counterspelled. Like, if this is him to Turak, I can live with that. It is. Alright. Okay, if we can find... I guess we can double spell by just sacrificing one of our Yavimayas. It's more food for the Hogaak, so it's not the end of the world. That's a green mana they've... Oh, it's because of the Yavimaya. Yeah. Same as colourless. For a brief moment, I was mildly confused. So they still can't get these Mox Opals online unless they have another artifact they can drop. A Pithing Needle. This is going to name Hexmage or Thespian stage. Probably Hexmage, because that's much better against them because they have things like Chalice. And if we put Chalice on 0, it's good. Yeah. Correct choice from our opponent. There's a Mox Opal. So now they have the Metalcraft. And there's Patches. Okay, we should be able to race Patches. I think our spells are going to resolve here. Right, let's begin with Stitcher's Supplier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I would rather play the Satyr Wayfinder here. Just make sure that we are getting another land drop for next turn. Doing all the good stuff. Okay, I'll take the Dark Depths. Will I take the Dark Depths when they have this onboard Ether Spell Bomb? And maybe we can force them to use the Spell Bomb at some point. Yeah, I didn't hate that. And this taps for mana anyway. Okay, green. black, and we'll get rid of the non-lands here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll get rid of one of the dark depths so they can't surgical it or anything. Alright. We have a thing that is bigger than your thing. We know you don't have Force of Vigor blue card, and you can't do Metallic Rebuke, so this is always going to resolve. Yep, Lotus Petal, pump your guy. Are they going to be drawing off the Spell Bomb? Or are they going to be bouncing our creature? Because we get to redeploy. They got Kappa. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they could have a Kappa here. That'd be really annoying. It's going to be a rerun of... Oh, it's a Kappa. It's just a rerun of the previous time we lost. Okay. Okay. I understand, opponent. A Vampire Hexmage. Okay, we're going to attacks with our 8/8. Certainly not on blocks, because it's unlikely to be able to block. Right, so we'll play a 3/4. If they swing out, we can kill them on the backswing, so they're probably just going to try and play an artifact and Cap Cannoneer. Obviously, they have the Spell Bomb, which can change things up a little bit. We need to find another land before we can do anything with our Elvish Reclaimer in terms of getting a 2020 online, although a 2020 online isn't going to be that helpful for us unless we can get something like a Collector Ouphe in play first. But we can chump with this Stitches Supplier for more food in the yard. I will take any chump blocks we can get because we don't know if we're ever going to be able to chump block again. Like with the Yavimaya, we can just get rid of our black source altogether and put a Thespian stage in play, and then we're threatening them 2020, so at any point they use a Spell Bomb, they're in trouble. What is this? Chalice for 1. Okay, that grows patches, makes Cannoneer unblockable. But I don't think they are attacking with both creatures here. Right, we can't block this one, so we just take it. Right, deck, give us something good. That's not great, is it? Let's go to attacks. Send in our clown. We have a question here. Do we play the Stitcher Supplier for an additional card in our graveyard for the purposes of Hogaak? Or do we hold it in case we draw something that blows up the Chalice? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 cards in our graveyard. And we're about to put a 5th one in with Reclaimer, so I don't think we need to do that. So now they can either Spell Bomb away our Hogaak. We need them to brick either this turn or next turn with Artifact. So Cap Cannoneer needs the Artifact to enter play, so if they draw like a Shadow Spear, that doesn't do it. It pumps their patches, but doesn't stop the Cannoneer. Alright, an island. So they've bricked on that turn. They're not attacking. We're activating our Reclaimer. I think we're just going to go and get ourselves the Thespian stage here. This way, if they use their Spell Bomb, we kill them with the 2020. And that's pretty nice for me. If we attack with this 8/8, they have to trade one of their guys if they want to kill it, and then we get to replay it. Or they can use their Spell Bomb and die to our 2020. Double blocking. Is that right? Bouncing's not going to make a difference, is it? Just put it all on this guy. Okay, and then we'll replay this guy. Do you want to keep our Reclaimer back, or no? I think we don't keep our Reclaimer back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. I think we are doing all right. They can't replay the Spell Bomb after they use it. All right. So they're growing their patches by 1. They're going to have 1 card in hand. So they can bounce this if they want to. We have no cards in our graveyard. We go to attacks. So they either need to block this and take 2 or bounce it. If they bounce it, then we have a 2020 on the next turn. All right, so they're bouncing the Hogaak. Can we redeploy it this turn? Not at the cost of our other things. So I think we're just going to pass and see if a 2020 Indestructible Flyer is good enough. It's been good enough for me many times in my Magic career. Right, Ancient Tomb. Psy Master Thopterist with no artifacts in play. All right, GG's. We managed to beat the matchup that beat us earlier and lock in the positive record, 3-1. Okay, let's go to the final round and see if we can make that a 4-1. If we had a black source, I would keep this, but we don't. So what would this hand do? It would be turn 1 Khalni Garden, turn 2... Yeah, this is not good enough. We can do better. Oh, God. These lands aren't free, are they? This is just too slow. Let's try for something else. Oh, God. Here we go again. This one is a keep, though. Keep this. We get rid of this expensive Ikoria card. And I think we get rid of the Cabal Therapy here. So, the play here is Khalni Garden, make a guy. Mox Diamond, pitch the other Khalni Garden, play this. This gives us some potential to go into a Hogaak-depths combo. We can get some more land going. Oh, yes. Swing and a miss. Love to see it. Free shock. Excellent. Another one of these guys. If we sacrifice this for a Yavimaya, then play the Hogaak-depths, we can play the Reclaimer. Maybe we're just going to be playing like a weird zoo deck today with just pumping our Elvish Reclaimers and beating down with them. A Brainstorm, sure. Would like to find another land of any description. Fetch land would be pretty good, actually. Another land of any description, hello. Let's sacrifice this. We'll go and get ourselves a Thespian stage here. And this will attack for 3. We actually have Sheoldred's Edict covered because of the plant token, so that's pretty nice. We have a 2020 next turn. Oh, a Bayou, that's unexpected. Oh, is our opponent a combo deck and we're just going to storm us out? Dark Ritual? No Brainstorm. This feels like a combo deck, like Ad Nauseam Tendrils, I'm guessing. That's the vibe I'm getting. So I think next turn if we get another turn, that is. Oh, there's a Saga. Okay. That's confounded me a little bit. Maybe it's like some sort of hybrid, like Black Saga Storm, but with other colours in. That makes some sense. Oh dear. What's that last card? 3, 4, 5. Alright, we're doing an Ad Nauseam from 13 with 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds. Alright, opponent. Let's see how dead I am. Alright, so they've floated a load of mana here. Dark Ritual, Beseech the Mirror, Infernal Tutor. So if they find a Lion's Eye Diamond, that's just guaranteed. Another Beseech the Mirror. So that should be... Oh wait, no, that's too much. Yeah, they were looking for a little bit more mana, right? Okay, we managed to get there. Luck meets judgment, I suppose. So we want the Surgicals because that lets you win in response to a Beseech the Mirror win. So we also want the Endurance, Collector Ouphe, and Force of Vigors are fine. We do not require Sejiri Steppe, I do not believe. Cabal Therapies are good. Crop Rotation is fine. This Invasion of Ikoria can find the Collector Ouphe, but it's very slow. Our opponent says they misclicked. What if we're trimming this sort of stuff? How does that make you feel? This requires us needing to find 3 cuts. I think I like the Hogaak plan, just as a way of actually closing the game quite quickly while our opponent's sort of durdling around. 26 lands. Can we trim on those lands at all? 3 of them aren't really lands. So that's only 23 lands. So I don't think we can trim there. If we want all of these cards in, which I think we do, we have to start making some cuts. We're probably looking at things like Satyr Wayfinder, like trimming. Maybe we trim a Hexmage. And then we trimming Crop Rotation or Reclaimer. Reclaimer is just better than Crop Rotation in a lot of ways because we get to beat down with it, which is an important aspect of this game. Okay, we'll try this. Now, there's a possibility that we've overboarded here. Turn 1, Bayou. We'll keep this. If we draw into a second mana source, we do get to play the Ouphe as well, which is going to be excellent. Carpet? No, not Carpet. It's going to be Ponder, and they just tap. Yeah, there it is. Why do they play Carpet? They wouldn't play Carpet. Carpet main deck is a thing you see a bit now because it sacrifices to Beseech the Mirror. And, you know, it's good against a lot of the format. Right, so I believe our opponents probably kept their best card on top of their library. But here goes. Echoing Truth. Infernal Tutor is the thing I'm most scared of here, I think. Take that. And now we are expecting our opponent to play Urza's Saga this turn. So next turn we play the Ouphe. If we find a land. If we don't find a land, then things get a bit trickier. Beautiful. We'll do the thing that's good. There is a Collector Ouphe for you. They do have the Echoing Truth for this. So they're pondering. So I don't think they're trying to remove the this turn cycle. So we can snatch that out of the hand with a Cabal Therapy. Also, our Dark Depths taps for mana now, which is pretty good. So we go Cabal Therapy, target our opponent. They're going to Echoing Truth. Maybe we're supposed to try and get 2 damage in there first. I think that's an error from our part there. Right, it didn't. Alright, so we take the Echoing Truth. And we leave them with these cards. Play this. Cabal Therapy our opponent again. Then Beseech the Mirror. Pretty brutal on our part there. We'll attack. Play a threat. And that didn't have quite enough to put the Hogaak into play. So 2 damage is fine there. Alright, so they're going to make 1 as a Saga Construct. And they can make it quite large because they can dump out their hand. Just as things to pump their guy. Ooh, they're just tapping for black mana. Alright, Brainstorm is a pretty good way to approach this. We have a 2020 in the very near future though. I like this crop rotation quite a lot. Let me just go to attacks. Hold up crop rotation and Elvish Reclaimer. They have to win this turn or find an answer. So they're shuffling away their cards of Brainstorm. I don't really think we can rely on them having any of those cards in their hand. Surprised they didn't make a construct to block with, but I guess they're fearful of the 2020, so they're probably just trying to build towards a win. There's a Saga. That's going to be too slow here. They need to not have other things here. So I think we're going to sacrifice this Nurturing Peatland here. We get Thespian stage. Alright, we got the GGs from the opponent there. Alright, so we finished with a 4-1. The only round we lost was to an 8-cast hand that was like turn 1 Patches, turn 2 Cap Cannoneer. That was the game 3 that we lost, which is a really solid hand that's going to be a lot of decks anyway. And it's just going to do the stompy thing really well. So yeah, this deck surpassed my expectations. You might have picked up that I was pretty dubious in the deck tech at the start. But yeah, it kind of impressed me with some of the things it could do. Now, we didn't play against any white removal decks, which I think is going to be the bane of this list. But let's talk about the deck. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel. A mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles. And lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description. Alright, so I think my comment before at the start about this card not being great, I think I stand by that. Like, we bought it out quite a lot. 4 mana is a reasonable amount, and the amount of utility we get off of it is pretty low. Like, yes, we can get a Collector Ouphe, but if this was just a green sun, it might just be better, because yes, we can't get the Hexmage combo to make an 8/8, but we've got 8/8s covered, and we've also got these other big guys from the Dark Depths, and just making a 3rd legendary creature as your way of beating down doesn't feel like where I want to be. Whereas if we had a Green Sun Zenith, a couple of Green Sun Zeniths, that can be a Dryad Arbor, it can be a Reclaimer, it can be Wayfinder, and then we can also slot in some extra things. Like, we're not really utilising this for much outside of the Hexmage, and I guess we can get the Stitcher Supplier. That's not really a thing we're ever going to want to do with it. So, well, that's not true. Maybe we just need some cards in graveyard for the Hogaak or something, and we only have 3 mana. Then, yeah, I can see getting Stitcher Supplier. But I think the Green Sun Zenith most of the time is going to just be a better card. Like, that extra mana is a lot. And the battle side of it doesn't really do anything unless you get specifically Hexmage. Otherwise, it's just a waste of time attacking it. Which is kind of why I don't really like the design of battles as a card type. So, this definitely felt like the weak link. But the rest of the things we were doing were quite good. Like, Elvish Reclaimer is just a really good Magic the Gathering card and can really hold together some decks in a big way. The ability to just dump a Hogaak into play on turn 2 is pretty strong. This card is, you know, quite tasty. It gets a lot of work done. It is importantly an 8/8, which means it outclasses things like Patches quite easily until like things really start popping off. But it also trades with a largest Murktide unless they start removing cards again after they've made it. But the maximum you can make a Murktide on cast is the 8/8. So having a thing that can attack into that is really nice. And, you know, trample is pretty relevant too. And the fact that you can attack with then just replay it really sells it to me. The Cabal Therapy didn't seem that useful. Like, yes, we did sacrifice to Stitch's Supplier a few times, but that's kind of the only synergy there. Like, we can sacrifice to the Hogaak and then replay the Hogaak a little bit, but that requires us to have more cards in our thing. And quite often we weren't necessarily having double Hogaak activations. What I will say is a Life from Alone would probably be good. I know I said at the start, but I think a Life from Alone is probably pretty reasonable here. It gives you another way that you can start a game by just having like turn 1 land, Mox Diamond, play your Life from Alone, and just right there and then you've got an engine that's going to eventually win you the game. And then you can also put some other weird and wonderful stuff in. I'm a big fan of Entomb in green-black decks like this, but I don't think this is the deck for Entomb. But it's interesting to think about that. The Cabal Therapy, maybe that would be better as, you know, some Assassin's Trophies, or, you know, something with a little bit more interaction, because that's basically our only interaction, really. And if we're firing off in the blind, how likely is that to do stuff? Now, I understand there's some synergy going on, but this didn't feel like a very impressive Cabal Therapy deck. Well, obviously, we had a game where we just ran 2 into the Storm player, but if we'd have had Thought Seizers instead, then, you know, same difference, really. It was just a discard spell. But yeah, generally the deck felt pretty good. We sort of stepped on our own toes with drawing the double Yavimaya a couple of times, which is very unlikely, and the double Urborg. So it's kind of trying to limit the amount of times that happens with this list, and it didn't actually make a difference to our outcomes of those games, really. So that was nice to see. Yeah, this deck surpassed my expectations, but I still think there's some room for improvement, mainly around this sort of area is where I would be looking at quite what you'd want to replace it with. I don't think you want to be playing Undead Butler, which is what some of the Hogaak decks were playing, but that card is playable in Hogaak decks, despite being like a 2-mana 1/2. But we're playing Satyr Wayfinder, right? But that obviously helps with both halves of our deck, so I kind of like the overlap there. I think a Life from Alone would definitely help and make me feel a little bit happy about this. We could even run some more Wastelands and kind of go, like, obviously Life from Alone lets you power out Hogaaks as well. It's like an engine in 2 ways, and maybe we could run some ways of making guys from the bin, whether that's Bloodghasts, whether that's Worm Harvest if you want to get fruity. Something might be useful, and you could also have things like Dark Blast as an option when you're milling yourself, so that's kind of an interesting one to me. But the deck felt pretty solid. I didn't feel like I was reaching for the Sylvan Safekeeper. Like I said, we didn't play against white removal decks, but I'm not sure a Sylvan Safekeeper saves us against white removal decks, especially when we have to pay 3 mana to find it. So not 100% convinced by the invasion, but for any of you that subscribe to my Patreon, you know my thoughts on this. There's a section in the guide to Turbo-Depths that I've written that gets updated every month that talks about why that card has some sort of problems with it and why I don't think it's that great. Like, when it first came out, people were playing it, and they were doing alright with it, but mainly because the decks they were playing it in were just good. And then it's basically just sort of fizzled out and not really a card that sees Legacy play. Outside of a very few niche things like playing it here, but yeah. Ramble over. This deck surpassed my expectations, but it definitely has some weak links when it comes to beating white decks, I would imagine. Like, Swords to Plowshares is going to be absolutely brutal for this deck to play against. But we did manage to dodge them today, so can't argue with that. Quite what the plan is against the Swords to Plowshares deck, I'm not sure. However, what I would suggest is the creature type of this card is Avatar. The creature type of this card is also Avatar when it makes a creature. So we could play Steely Resolve in the sideboard, and it would cover both of our main plans. So that's something to think about in those matchups, and I think that might be better than Sylvan Safekeeper, to be honest. Now, yes, it's still going to get hit by things like Leyline Binding, but that's just kind of the price you pay, really. The other option is Legolas's Quick Reflexes, which, again, I think is reasonably solid, and it gives you some removal, but so maybe it is Swift Reflexes, because we don't have that much interaction, and that is a card that is potentially removal and protection. Now, it's only really removal if things are going okay for you, which isn't necessarily ideal. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that one. I can't quite piece together exactly how I would reform this. I just know what I'm not enjoying on it so far. We'll probably have to give it another round in a league to, like another whole league to have a few more conclusions. But I think I've had some thoughts about this, and let me know what you think of them and how you would change this deck and the sideboard. Alright, we are done for today. Remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the Depthsember action this year. And thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.